Are you in the midst of transition? Would you love to hear some stories and tips? That's what we're going to share with you today. So welcome back to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. So glad you're joining me. Before we dive in, I would love for you to click here and subscribe. Give me that thumbs up and ring the bell. Today's episode, I've got Carolyn Grant with Navigate Transition with me again today. If you haven't listened to this series on transition, it has been so amazing, honestly, having you here talking about different transition models and normalizing all of these behaviors and emotions that we feel. And so I'd encourage you, go back and listen to the 4 weeks previous if you haven't. But today, Carolyn's going to be sharing stories with us of just how she helps teams and individuals and families really navigate transition. So, Carolyn, why don't you introduce yourself briefly and then we'll jump in.
Sure. I'm Carolyn. I'm a writer and a transition coach. And that's something that I've just grown into, really. It's been a passion of mine to help people feel supported, less alone, just encouraged in transitions, life transitions that we all go through. So I think one of my favorite things to do is in our community and in our schools, I lead groups for new families that have come to the city. Some of them just from a different state and others from abroad. And I just find, because I was that person once, and I remember feeling so alone and so misunderstood and trying to grapple with all the cultural changes. So I lead them through a 4-week course doing exactly what we've just done now. What are endings? What's the neutral zone? What are new beginnings? And I just love when the light goes on in their eyes and goes, gosh, someone understands me. I'm not the only one going through this. And so that's moving, you know, but I've also helped families who are global aid workers and returning to the US after some time abroad. And that's tough. You know, you think you're coming home, but home has changed.
Oh, yeah.
People have changed. You've changed while you've been away. So just helping people process all those deep emotions that come along with the transition. And then there's one-on-one coaching. You know, I've done a lot over Zoom. Thank you, COVID.
Yes, thank you, COVID.
But it's been really helpful. So whether it's leading a group over Zoom or one-on-one coaching, it's really just recognizing I see everything through the lens of transition, you know, so whether it's a marriage or divorce, whether it's a loss of a loved one or a birth of a baby, it can be these positive or negative changes, but with each of them, there's loss that you need to help people realize it's okay that I feel sad about this, even if it's a positive change. And then giving them the tools. That's my favorite part, you know, whether it's, we've talked about the 7 losses or the 4 R's or the, 3 C's and the 4 P's, but go back and look at them because those are honestly some of the best tools that I feel like we can equip people with to navigate transition in healthy ways.
So good. You know, I heard someone recently say that when you get married, for a female, I mean, you don't have to change your name, obviously, but I did. I chose my name and, to change my name to my husband's name, and we've been married almost 30 years, and I didn't really realize that, for 23 years, I was Stacey Waldrop, that was harder to pronounce than Harris. And, but, for now almost 30 years, I've been Stacey Harris, but there was a loss. There was a letting go of that, part of your life. And so even in that excitement of the new beginning of marriage and, this life partnership, there is transition, there is loss that happens as well. And I think that for me has been one of the most important pieces for me individually, just personally, in self-awareness of understanding transition and understanding that even in these exciting stages of life, there is a letting go. There is a part that will no longer be the same. I know you've heard me talk about we're empty nesters. And so for 26 years, I have been mothering someone that's been vitally needing me. And now I've got these young adults that are really, one is in college and still, but she's over 1,000 miles away, and it's different. It's so different. So finding my role, it's so fun every stage of infants to toddlers to middle school to high school, and then this adult children, college and beyond. But man, my role as mom looks different today than it did 26 years ago. So
absolutely. And I'm even feeling that, and my kids are just entering their teenage years, but where you had to be so hands-on, literally on the floor, building puzzles and playing with dolls. Now it's like, Mom, I just need a ride to soccer practice, or, can you come pick me up from there? But it's still, I'm like, gosh, my role is changing. And so that's a transition in and of itself. It doesn't have to be a big international move. It doesn't have to be a loss of a job. But the principles and the tools and the language around transition stays the same. And I think that's what I find so fascinating, honestly, is just seeing, gosh, I could help someone right there, with the loss, because it's the same transition of how do I be in the world without this person that was in my world. Just a few.
Yeah. A lot of our listeners and those who watch me on YouTube are females. And so I think women in the last year and a half have experienced so much transition because so many were working, and then now all of a sudden childcare is changing and we're home. And I read recently that even 40% of females in the workforce have transitioned in some way. Whether that was completely leaving a job or maybe stepping back into a role differently, but so much transition just in the last year and a half for women. I think juggling, we were talking about our kids, juggling family with work. And so go back and check out some of these previous episodes, because we've shared some really practical tips. But then also you can reach out to Carolyn. So
anytime. I think my favorite thing is to do a group. So even if there's a group of friends that you feel like you're all going through something together, you're all leaving college or you're all starting a new job, it's fun to hear from other people, to get that validation. Gosh, it's not only me who feels like this. And it can be different transitions. I have someone who's moved and someone who's going through a divorce, and we sit together over Zoom. I wanted to be over a table soon, but just getting to share those important life moments to go, okay, we're in this together. There's transition is a normal process, and I can move through it, even though there's several transitions sometimes happening at once, right? But just knowing gives us that peace that we can be like, it's going to be okay.
So I've loved this partnership because I've been working with executives and so many individuals through transition, because work looks differently today than it did a year and a half ago, and so many businesses are changing. And so I have partnered with Carolyn, and we're working together to really bring all of this knowledge that we both have for helping individuals really process all of the losses, all of the mess, all of the opportunity to grow, because we are going to be moving into new beginnings. Each in our own time, each organization will look differently, but we really want to help you. And so we'd love to partner with you. I've got some free resources that I'm giving away right now: a free DISC assessment, a free EQ assessment. I noticed on your website, your first consultation is free. So you can have a free conversation with Carolyn, but we would love to help you. So we'd love to hear from you. You can comment on our YouTube channel. You can send us a DM. We're going to link all of Carolyn's information to this video, her website, her Instagram, so you can follow along her journey, read her blog, reach out to her. But thank you so much for joining us. Carolyn, thank you. This has been such a fun series on transition. I think it's a really timely conversation because of what we're going through in our world today. So I hope you've learned something. Join me next week, because we'll be talking more about help for leaders. Thank you so much for watching this series. If you'd like more content, click here and click here to subscribe.